Witnessed countless times will be repeated in a nasally, Valley Girl-like voice while wearing a fop hairdo looking like a Karen and being deliberately and cartoonishly snotty. Specifically to throw a case. These are actors. Working from the 3rd of the month at 6:15 a.m. to the 4th of the month at 4 a.m. sounds like over a 20-hour shift. Or, yeah, that seems like over a 20-hour shift with breaks. And then taking some time off to sleep, and then working from 10 a.m. on the 4th to 1:45 p.m. on the 4th for a short shift to finalize and do cleanup. At the CFC Center, or TCF Center, working for Dominion Voting Systems somewhere in Michigan as an IT worker. This person claimed to have witnessed nothing but fraudulent actions taking place, which means she literally never saw anything she thought was normal or explainable as anything other than fraud, specifically to give Joe Biden the election in this area. She was told by her supervisor, Nick Ironicarasis, I can't pronounce it, that we're here to assist with IT work, not run the election. It's not your job. It's not in your pay level. Stop it. Do your job. After a long shift and then a short shift. Witnessed countless times will be repeated. Workers rescanning batches, 50 ballot batches, without discarding them first, which resulted in the ballots being counted 4 or 5 times in tabulators that would get jammed 4 or 5 times an hour. But it had an option to take the ones that had gone through, repeat back the ones that had jammed, run through the rest of the batch, and then put the jammed ones to the side to be processed later, or process them now if possible, which is what they're told to do in the room. Claiming that all of the workers had very little training and didn't know what they were doing, while you're an IT worker who's walking around making snide remarks about everybody after a 20-hour shift where you're ticked off right after you found out your favorite candidate lost in the state. Witnessed countless times on a single PC. That I'm not overdoing it. That's literally what happened here. That's why she's saying it. A single PC had a number of over 400 ballots scanned. She surmised that had to be a 50 ballot batch counted over and over again, like 8 times. Or it could have been 8 50 ballot batches. Again, this goes back to the original assertion. It may be only one incident she's talking about. I'm sorry, but the way she sounds, she's non-credible, and she probably saw this happen literally once, which means 400 ballots. That's her actual witness number. Countless times means I didn't see it more than once, but I want you to think so. I'm assuming it's countless times. That's what it means. And then again, witnessed countless times during shift change. I overheard hearsay workers talking about Democrats judging the ballots instead of judging it with a Republican there, resulting in an unfair process. Now, of course, she has corroboration, and there's 2 other people who were there, she says, backs her up. I'm reading from her sworn statement. She says if she got wrong, she'd go to jail. That's absolutely not true, and she would have been told that. That's bordering on lying. You're told if you got it wrong, you don't go to jail. You're just saying to the best of your ability, you're saying something true. If you're worried about going to jail on something that's almost impossible to put you in jail for, unless you get caught saying something that's a lie, you have a problem. When people point out that literally no one backed her or the other 2 people up, and these 3 people are actually contradicting each other, and that we have an example set here of what has been claimed as being non-credible. When this is pointed out, she gets defensive and snotty to the people talking to her. So let's overview just what was written down in the PDF file link. Witnessed workers rescanning the batches but claiming they didn't discard previous batches and or make sure that they kept the count from getting screwed up. Now, it's their job to make sure it doesn't get screwed up. And if it was that far off, like you were counting 4 or 5 times over, the count would be so far off it would be noticed. She claimed when she was told that it wasn't noticed or that it wasn't off by 10,000 votes, that the Republicans in the room in the Senate or House hearing or whatever it is in that state, that they were in on it. Did you fiddle with it in some weird way? Did you do something crazy with it? This is a flippant, obnoxious IT worker who claims to have worked for Dominion. I don't even know if that's valid either. Now she's saying she can't get a job. I wonder why. Well, she's a whistleblower and they're punishing her. They? Yeah, everybody on the planet's a Democrat. She couldn't get hired by some IT company since then. Countless times I overheard a rumor. Countless times I watched something that's not part of my job that's supposed to be done one way or another, but I assumed it was done the worst way. Countless times heard rumors of Democrats doing all the judging, not Republicans and Democrats. But none of the people who were there doing the evaluation said that happened. They didn't say that. The tabulators jammed 4 or 5 times an hour. That could be possible. Sure, okay. And they were counted 4 or 5 times. Each time they counted them again instead of clearing the previous jam or just knocking off the last set and then running them through. Totally ignoring it and totally running them through. But the assumption is they all were Biden ballots. Because what she noticed when she walked by is that these were absentee ballots. And she didn't like them being counted because she's been primed to believe that anytime you're counting absentee ballots, they're for Biden and they're all fake. She also said, yeah, I saw illegals or there were ballots by illegals. She claimed offhandedly, which was stupid, illegal aliens did it. Well, they were illegal ballots. No, she's claiming illegals. That's not a code word. That's how people phrase it when they're talking about Mexicans. Don't want Mexican. You saw Mexican signature. She also claimed that people took a ballot that wasn't able to be scanned because it was unreadable and filled it out by copying it and signed for it. Okay. And maybe put a reference to what the ballot was originally so it could be visually confirmed later. So it would be counted. It just didn't get counted because of some jam up with the paper splitting or the machine not counting it correctly. Or the dots not being filled in. Now, at this point, that does sound like an area where someone could easily manipulate the vote. Okay, that's one point. But she said, I witnessed it countless times during a 20-hour shift and a short shift. In an area where she wasn't supposed to be wandering around. She was supposed to be doing the IT work. Maybe she was doing paper jam cleanups, right? She didn't say that. She did not make an assertion that she was helping the tabulators unjam the machines. She said she saw this, and she's assuming that one of the procedures would not result in an overcount, and the other one might. So she assumed that one, but doesn't witness it. She was told they were there to do IT work, not run the election. Get back to work. She claims she never saw any food coming out of some vans. That doesn't mean they didn't have food in them. That just means you didn't go out when there was food available. Why weren't you at your work? This is on her break. This is the infamous, I was on my break and saw something I didn't understand, therefore it must be bad or something. Michigan discovered 100,000 more ballots 2 hours after the last van left. They must have had votes in them. Giuliani said originally it was a garbage truck because Giuliani. Later, she confessed, kind of under duress, that she didn't actually see any ballots in the van. She just assumed it. And did she say the vans were empty when she saw them? I didn't see food come out of them, so they were empty. They had just finished emptying a van. And 2 hours later, the vote went against your preferred candidate, obviously. And she was nosing around in an area that's restricted. You're not supposed to go in there and fuck with the people doing the tabulation. And she saw people doing things and decided they must be nefarious and only working for Biden. If they were counting absentee ballots, it's assumed they're all Biden ballots. That's what's going on here. So this is what happens when you have an unequal election, as the Republicans have been claiming. Well, absentee ballots only being for Democrats makes them uneven. Okay? But you told your own people not to do absentee ballots. And the problem with this is if you don't count the absentee ballots, you do get rid of a lot of Trump votes because there were a bunch of Republicans voting absentee because they gave a shit about their survival rate during COVID-19. After this and other idiots caused the Trump campaign to lose yet another one of their dozens of court cases that have been lost. Yes, it is the Trump campaign that lost these battles. A hearing was arranged, and Michigan Republican lawmakers got dressed down, Republicans, by Melissa Carone, a contract IT worker and comic book villain sound-alike, claiming without any proof presented, except for two other people who didn't actually back her up, it didn't say the same things, that Detroit's vote counting center at TCF smuggled ballots inside of food vans, said illegals voted, but doesn't offer an explanation of how the fuck she knows they're illegal. Illegals? She said illegals. That's the quote. Well, she meant illegal ballots. No, she meant illegal aliens. That's a code word for Mexican. And they had 120% turnout, and that the ballot books, were wrong. But the ballot books were not wrong by 10,000 votes, so she claimed that they messed with the ballot books to hide her facts and proof when she wasn't supposed to be looking at the ballot books, I don't think, anyway. And she claimed there was 120% turnout when it was less than 50% turnout. That's actually recognized because the numbers actually are available. The number of people who were registered to vote on or before the date you could vote, because you can register to vote on the day of the election. She doesn't like that, so she's ignoring it. There's 120% of the ballot. No, it was 49. They got fewer people voting than registered because, again, people register primarily for the primary, but not the general election. So they don't necessarily vote in that. They just want their ballot to count to pick somebody within their, or they only do local elections and didn't bother. Ballots were run 50 times is the next claim that was made after the other one for 8 was wrong. They were not off by that amount since the poll book was not off by 30,000 votes or whatever she claimed. And then again, when it was pointed out that the actual ledger doesn't match what she said, well, instead of saying she might be wrong or it might be an overinflated number, she decided they faked it. I'm an IT worker. You can't contradict me because she also said that the Republicans did something crazy to it in general. So that's a basic rundown. There were 1,600 clerks across the state, ensuring that all valid ballots were counted, and out of 3.3 million absentee ballots, almost half or about half or over half, a very good portion of it, for the whole Michigan general election, 15,302 were rejected because officials determined, in this order of operations, the number, over 4,000, a little over 4,000, were people who had moved to another jurisdiction before Election Day, so they couldn't count the ballot. They might have stayed within state. They might have been voting truly absentee from outside of state, but they'd moved. And officially, they couldn't use that ballot in that area of the state, or they weren't supposed to vote. And that is whatever it is for you to think of. A little under 3,500 votes were cast while a person was alive, but in early election, early voting, but they died just before the election day, so they decided to disqualify them. I think that's bad. But okay. Others just simply arrived after the polls had closed, 3,000 of them. 3,000 extras lacked a valid signature, and about 1,000 had canceled their voter registration somehow beforehand, or they were purged. This was a lower screw-up rate than the primary, which put Trump on the ballot, or put everybody else on ballots. I don't find her credible. Nobody else does, and she's trying not to sound credible. This is a smokescreen show. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. Bye.